everyone. I'm going to be the moderator this evening. Again, welcome to our event. At this time, I will introduce the panel. To my immediate left is Belinda Kinley, Deputy Mayor for the City of Centerville and Vice President of Energy Optimizers USA. She is active in numerous community organizations, including the Montgomery County Convention Facilities Authority, Centerville Women's Civic Club, and as Secretary for the Centerville Community Improvement Council. She is the current president of the Ohio Municipal League. She previously served for 10 years as the regional director for Ohio Attorney General and Auditor of State Betty D. Montgomery. Belinda was recently honored by the YWC of Dayton as a Woman of Influence for March 2024. She and her husband have lived in Centerville-Washington Township for more than 30 years. C.T. Shelton, a tour de force within the small business community. She is a business advisor for the Miami Valley Urban League and provides technical assistance and opportunities of capital infusion to assist minority businesses in the city of Dayton and surrounding counties. Utsi brings the U to community. She lends her enthusiasm and support to organizations for annual fundraising, including the Dade Heart Association and the National Conference for Community and Justice. She served on the advisory board and facilitated coffee talks for WIBN. In 2022, she graduated from the Miami Valley Regional Environmental Justice Academy. She holds a bachelor's in communication from Central State University and was an on-air producer for WCSU FM radio. She is a published author of the devotional Secret Moments and co-author Success Powered by Relationships and the Audacity to Phenomenally Become Her. Welcome, Utsi.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here with everybody.
On the far end is Liz Fultz, my favorite librarian. She is director of the Washington Centerville Public Library. She attended Morehouse State University in Eastern Kentucky, where she earned a degree in business administration. She graduated from the School of Library Science at the University of Kentucky. In 1996, she began her career at Centerville-Washington Library and was promoted to director in 2009. She had an integral role in the renovation, expansion, and reopening of the Woodburn Library. She has been a member of the Centerville Noon Optimists for 8 years. Her husband is a math teacher at Miami Valley Career Technology Center. Her son is studying sustainable architecture at the University of Maine, and her daughter is a student at Wright State studying environmental science. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get started with the questions for our panel, everyone should have a 3x5 card and a pencil. If you think of a question, please write it down. We'll collect them a little later, and you can direct them to the entire panel or to individual people if you like. So I'm going to begin with Belinda. Given your diverse involvement in community service and public policy, how do you believe your experience have contributed to the advancement of gender equality and women's empowerment in our community?
Well, I'm here representing two types of careers, one in the private sector with an engineering firm, and then my involvement on city council. They both, for many years, have traditionally been male-dominated, and especially in the energy services world, for many years, I was the only woman in the state of Ohio that was doing energy projects. And so I made a concentrated effort to hire interns from UD or Wright State and have mentored several young women who are now stars in our company. And we make sure that they have what they need to succeed, which is professional development and support. We've changed some of our policies to make them more family-friendly, just as we've done with the city as well, to acknowledge that younger people who are having children may need some flexibility. It's not like when I had mine 44 years ago, you had to be at your desk from 8 to 5 and there was no modification to that. So we've learned over the years how to make it a workplace that is friendly to all. And then with the city, we have provided many opportunities for professional development. And we have a history of 2 very strong female mayors, which I hope someday to follow in their footsteps. And we provide college tuition support and all types of support for those in our workforce as well with the city.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It's very interesting what you've done to advance women, and especially young women in our community. Utsi, your role as a public relation and outreach coordinator for diversity and inclusion is vital. Can you share specific strategies you have employed to promote diversity and inclusion, especially concerning women within the construction industry?
Before we even go in there, and you look at, and she gave you that question, for 6 years I worked in a construction company doing diversity. And even leading into that, I went into a company out of 85 executives. All of them basically were men, from Columbus to Dayton to Sydney in Indiana. I was the only female, but not only was I only female, I was the only minority. So even before even dealing with women and dealing with the inclusion piece, I had to figure out how to navigate for myself. The good thing for me is growing up in a very diverse community. I'm from Troy, Ohio. So being from that area, I've dealt with an eclectic amount of people, different backgrounds, and just my family in general. So what I did in dealing with diversity is I had to become the change I wanted to see. And in that, I mean, I had to go in with no preconceived ideas or notion of how people would see me or what they would think about me, but go in embracing that each person that I met for who they were and allowing them to get to know me. So as that evolved within the office that I was in and getting to know my coworkers, it allowed me some flexibility that when I met women that were in the construction trade, which there's not a whole lot of them, unless their husband has made their business, they've given it to their wives and made them that 51% owner, and they're learning it from their husband. So it's not going to be too hard for those women to really navigate in, except for building those relationships. It made it easier to be able to just build relationships with those women, knowing they knew their jobs, they knew the background for the industry they were in, and helped them to understand to not be too forceful, but to go in and be the change they wanted to see in diversity and inclusion, no matter what their spec of work was. And they didn't have to demand, all they had to do was be themselves, and watch how them allowing those men and other companies to just embrace them, and they embrace them for who they were. That allowed diversity begin to move, and then it allowed walls to come down, allowed people to begin to embrace each other, to get to know each other for who they were and not for what they saw.
Yeah, too often women try to change themselves to be something that they're not. And just being yourself, and like you say, acclimating yourself to your surroundings sometimes is a better approach.
And I will add this, I'm an associate pastor, so I deal with men all the time. So I had to learn to be who I am and realize that my best asset is being a woman.
Thank you. Liz, having played a significant role in the expansion and reopening of Woodburn Library, how do you see the role of librarians and fostering an inclusive community that supports women's empowerment and gender equality?
Well, I think my experience is a little bit different from my co-panelist here because librarianship is a very feminized field, but that doesn't mean that it's without challenges and some inequalities, despite the fact that majority of them are women. Libraries have been empowering women back to the 19th century in a time when higher education was really limited to the elites. Libraries provided access to literature and knowledge for women of all kinds of socioeconomic status. So that really began to open the door for some, empowerment and equality in education. Librarianship became feminized also in the 19th century. The first woman library director is reported to be from the Los Angeles Public Library in 1880. So a long history there of women in these roles. But even in this current day, since women have been in these positions for over 150 years now, there still are, there's the inequity in the pay and more men library directors. So there, like I said, there's still some challenges there. Libraries did provide women an opportunity for an employment when there were few socially acceptable options. You could be a librarian, you could be a teacher, you could be a seamstress. So fortunately, things have evolved from then. But libraries provide a lot more than just books. There's the opportunity for connection. There's an opportunity for skill development. We're more than just story times, although story times do provide opportunities for women to network and connect with, other mothers and caregivers.
The library is one of my favorite places to go.
Mine too.
Too.
I
And the
probably
bookstore.
have been to more library book sales than the law allows. Thank you. Back to Belinda.
Yes.
As a member of Centerville City Council and the Ohio Municipal League Board of Trustees, what initiatives or policies do you think are crucial for promoting women's rights and gender equality in the local governance level?
I believe that we as a city put in place lots of opportunities for professional development, whether it is in public works or the police department or the office, whichever part of our city departments. I think it's really important that everyone have the opportunity to take advantage of training. For instance, our Kate Bosdorf is the newest person in the city to have a drone operator license. And we're very proud of that. The city was able to take advantage of a program that the state offers called Tech Cred, which allows cities and local government entities to get free training for those kinds of training. So we're always on the lookout for new opportunities to grow, to allow our team to grow professionally. The same within the Ohio Municipal League, which is the lobbying body for cities and villages in Ohio. And I'm on the board of trustees. We offer, again, I hate to keep saying it, but professional development opportunities and including some specific programs for women. Unfortunately, men are still in the majority as far as office holders in cities and pretty much all types of government. And so we have several programs to encourage women in particular to get the training that they need so that they have the confidence. I've always heard it said that when a man is asked to to run for office, they say yes immediately, whereas a woman says, "Oh, I'm not ready for that yet. I need to do this and this and this to get ready." And so we need to help other women have the courage to just say yes and then figure out how, just like a guy does.
You mentioned drones. I was really taken aback a little bit ago, a couple of years ago, when Sinclair opened up a whole course where you could get trained. And I thought, why in the world would anybody want to do that? But it's a growing field and there are women enrolled.
Yes. I saw that Springfield Air National Guard brought to their site a drone that flies regularly overseas to the difficult areas. I'm not sure exactly where, but this massive drone that is operated out of Springfield. And they had a lot of publicity about it, and lots of people were very intrigued. And I think it is certainly one of the future careers.
Yes, it is.
In many areas.
Before I give Utsi her next question, I want to again remind you, if you do have questions, please complete them on your 3x5 card, and Carol will come around and collect them. So, Utsi, as a public speaker and author with a focus on relationships, how do you believe fostering positive relationships contributes to women's success and empowerment? And how can these principles be applied more broadly in our community?
I think I'm going to pick up where Belinda left off when she's talking about females always say that I have to do this and that before I dove into something, and we need to be more like me and just dove into it. I think those relationships that we build are very important, especially for women, because of what you said. We second guess ourselves. But when you have developed relationships with women that are here, and you may be here, and there's women down here, or you may be here, and you have women above you, and you build those relationships where you aspire to go, it opens up opportunities to really, for one, to be vulnerable and to learn in areas that you've always desired to be in, and not be afraid to walk in a room by yourself and introduce yourself and let people know who you are. Great opportunity of building relationships. This beautiful lady sat right here in front of me, and I said, I know her. You're a realtor. And she's like, look, I said, you're a realtor. I said, I met you back in 2015, 2016 at a realty meeting on Main Street over at the building by Channel 7 and the Dayton Foundation. And I said, Mary, I said something. She said, Marion Montgomery. I said, that's it. You in the room and you were just starting to really get your real estate going. She said, I'm doing it now. I said, I get that. But what I'm saying is, I remember you. And I tell that because relationships are important. That's why it's important. And I think those relationships are built out of really servitude, helping others. What we want for ourselves, we have to give. I volunteer a lot because those are opportunities to help my community, for one, but it's also an opportunity to meet my community and for my community to meet me and see what I have to offer as well as what they have to offer. People say, well, that's being an opportunist. No, it's not. Because my motive is there to see my community grow and be better. Building those relationships make a difference. They really do, for the simple fact is, when you're looking for someone that does an event, somebody you know comes to mind. Oh, so-and-so lays out the best party. Or when you're looking for a seamstress, I know exactly who, Grandma B, she's the best seamstress, because you build those relationships and you know what they do. And that's what we need in our community more and more, is knowing who each other are and what we do and how we contribute. Most times relationships for me come, and it's really crazy. I had a box this long, about this wide, full of business cards from the last 10 years. And I'm like, I might as well just throw these away. I don't need these anymore. I threw them away, and guess what? As soon as I threw them away, somebody was looking for somebody. I was like, can I believe this? I threw those cards away. But I still could remember certain things, and just being that connection for other people. Building those relationships, people know who to go to for what. And I think, and I realize that a lot of times in our community that we miss out on things when we don't know who to go to or what to do. And that's why connections and relationships are important. If you know that there's a great sale at Nordstrom's and you know your best girl shops at Nordstrom's, you're picking up that phone or you're texting her that picture and saying, look what I bought at Nordstrom's on sale, and it was originally this. And what you were looking for is still there. You think your friend's not going to run to that store and get it? You want everybody to know what's there because you know who likes that. You build a relationship with that group of people that like Nordstrom's. And you want to make sure they know what's going on. When there's something going on in your community, and if there's workforce development, and you know you're going to call those people and tell them. And that's why relationships are important. They're important because you never know who the connection is with, and you never know who you can help. I love relationships because people call me all the time. Do you know somebody that does this? I'm like, keep telling me what you want it for. If you tell me why you want it, just keep talking to me. Because if you talk to me long enough, I bet you I know somebody that does it. And then within the 5 to 10 minutes, I said, I got it. I got about 3 people that does that. Give me about 15 minutes. I'm going to call them and see who can I give their number to, or give your number to them to contact you. And you know what makes my heart good? When I can connect somebody with a realtor that can help them buy a piece of commercial real estate or a house they're looking for in a certain area, or I can connect you with someone that has a child care and you just moved to an area and you know nobody, but you met me in a grocery store. And I can say, this person's got an awesome daycare. I don't have kids, but I tell you what, I would trust her. I would trust her. Or I can say, Washington Township, I don't live there. I got some friends that live there. But you know, every time I come there, I think it's a pretty nice place to live. I know some people that live there. I can connect you. So connect to me. And they said I was going to talk a lot, didn't they? So I think the biggest principle is being available and being a servant. Serving others, helping others. Because what we want always comes back when we help somebody else. And I'll leave with this story. A friend of mine called me yesterday. And she said, are you home? I said, yeah, I'm home. She said, my uncle and aunt are home. Their daughter is landing on a plane and he fell. Can you go across the street? Yeah, sure. Now I'm working on my computer, but what does that mean? He's almost 90 years old. He fell. I went across the street, me and my granddaughter, and he's sitting there. Now, I have a certified nursing assistant's license. Do I use it? No, but I keep it because I never know who needs my help. And so in 45 minutes, it took me to get him up, just to convince him that he was going to be all right. And his wife was there, and I got him up and then got him to his chair. And he was like, thank you. You could have gave me $50,000. That could have paid off some stuff I needed. But the greatest value I got yesterday was being there for somebody else that needed something. Imagine if she would have got off that plane and got home, and her 90-year-old parents were there, and her mother was still trying to get her dad up off the floor. So to me, what is the greatest principle is caring about others and serving. And sometimes that means putting what's most important to you to the side and being there for somebody else. And that's what builds relationships. People don't care what you say. They care about how you treat them. That's what means the most.
So based on what Utsi said, I challenge each of you here to meet a person tonight Build a relationship with someone you don't know and see where it goes. Thank you so much for those inspiring words. Liz, with your background in library science and business, how do you envision leveraging the resources and services of the Washington Centerville Public Library to address the unique challenges faced by women in our community?
Oh, so I really have to go after Utsi.
You got this. I'm cheering you on. Do it.
At the risk of making this sound like a library commercial, because I could go on and on about all of the resources that we have and that are available, I do want to share a couple little anecdotes. I often say libraries can change lives, and people will say to me, oh, really? How? Well, as two examples, we had one woman that came to our eBay classes. We used to offer classes on how to buy and sell on eBay. She came twice, ended up setting up her own little eBay shop, and this became her retirement gig, a little side hustle for her during her retirement. She developed a business off of it. We recently opened our Creativity Commons in the Washington Township Recplex building. If you're not familiar with these spaces, they're very entrepreneurial. It's a place for people to come and be creative and try new things. And these maker spaces can prompt people, spark people to create their own businesses. There was a woman, now this wasn't ours because ours is still pretty new, but it inspired us at the Cincinnati Public Library. The woman started using their makerspace just to create things for her wedding. She wanted cost-effective decorations for her wedding, so she went in starting with that and ended up creating her own business. She'd go in, make little products to test them out, and ended up, creating a whole business out of it. So libraries do have that ability to really spark things in people, and creativity, entrepreneurship, and it can lead to new careers and new businesses. We have databases, we offer classes. As I mentioned, there's networking opportunities. The relationships that Utsi talks about, you can get those at the library if you come to a job seeking network group or attend one of the book discussions or and any of the classes. You can make those connections and meet people within the community.
In my world, the library is the best place to go. I've been to Creative Commons. I've had stuff made there. It's an excellent place to go. They do great banner building and they help you. If you don't know how to use one of those machines, they will help you. I really like that place. Okay, this time I have a toss-up question for you ladies from the audience. At times, women create their own glass ceilings by thinking they can't grow their careers and be a good parent. How do you help them get past this perception?
Well, when I was doing a little bit of research in preparation for this, because that's what librarians do, and I was struck, I came across something that talked about selfishness in women. And I just thought that was really interesting, that why is it if a woman wants to develop their career or have any kind of ambition, it's seen as being selfish, where not so much if a man has that. I feel like I've been very fortunate in my career. I've stayed at the library as long as I have because it did offer me, it worked out well for my family. And I think it was Belinda that mentioned earlier that, it's just try to make it easier for women to juggle those things. And at the library, we do have the ability to offer some flexibility. When you're serving the public, you're serving the public nights and weekends. And so in part for me, that has worked out. It worked out well when my kids were young. I could be home with them in the morning, and then my husband would be home with them later in the day. So, just really try to be supportive and understanding. Now that my kids are in their 20s, I still remember the days when they're homesick and what that's like to feel that being torn between work and home.
I was a single parent for many years. I was a young mother, got a divorce, was a single parent for many years. And I was so fortunate to have caring mentors, men and women, who helped me get over the fact that I didn't have a 4-year degree and gave me opportunities to try something new and really stretch. And I have tried hard to do the same for others who I come in contact with as well.
And I think what you're saying, I was a single parent. I've never been married. I was a single parent. But I had friends that were single parents or they were divorcees, and we created a relationship group, and we helped each other. And just a quick, I love stories, but anyways. A friend of mine, her name is Hope, she was married, she had 3 girls, and actually her older daughter had sickle cell anemia. So she was not just challenged with, in the midst of getting a divorce, but having 3 kids and one that was sick all the time. But there was a nucleus of us, about 4 of us, that were single parents, and we helped each other, from dropping each other's kids off to cooking meals together, that when she needed to go to work, somebody else worked second shift, so they'd be at the hospital with her daughter that had sickle cell, who was in a crisis, and our kids just became a community. So Hope wanted to go to college. So we were like, well, go to college. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You got all of us, go to college. So she went to Sinclair. She went to Sinclair and she worked on the IT, her 2-year degree there. And she even wanted to do some acting. We said, do the acting. We got your kids. You do what you need to do. We work with you. She did all that. She got her degree. She did great in that play. Our kids got to see, all of us work together to this day, as we all went our separate ways, got degrees and did our thing. Hope is in Maryland. She owns her own IT business. Her kids are grown. My kids are grown. Our kids are still friends to this day. But we constantly, no matter where we went across this country, we encouraged each other. And it would be, well, what are you working on? Well, I want to do this. Well, girl, do it then. We have you. Do it. Why aren't you doing it? I think it is important for women to be selfish about their lives, because when you're good to you, you can be good to others. And being a mother doesn't mean you have to stop living because you have kids. Your kids need to see you living and know that because you achieve these things, you remove every excuse for them ever to fail. I went back to school to get my degree because some things happened in my life. And when my son graduated from the Army in 2011, I was crossing the stage, getting my degree with honors in 2011, and was saying to him on a FaceTime, every excuse you ever had, you've watched me through life, you have no reason to fail. So I think it's important to remove those barriers and say, I can do whatever I want to do. The only barrier we have is the barrier that we create for ourselves.
We have a lot of women who work in 24/7, 365-day jobs. How do we encourage them or their employers to do flexible schedule? How do you work with an employer?
I think that since COVID, there have been more flexible arrangements. We all figured out how to get the job done, even though we weren't all in one place. And perhaps the chief might want to enlighten us at some other point. But it's been my experience that it seems that we all have learned to become more flexible.
We have a question here. There have been some letters that have been sent out, strongly worded letters to businesses and other places, that diversity and inclusion is not something that we should do. But hearing all three of you speak, I believe diversity and inclusion is important. So what do we do when we have people at the top saying it's not important?
So if you're talking about someone in an elected position or in the public sector, I think perhaps there can be public pressure put on them as opposed to in private industry. That's a tough one.
It is. It's a tough question.
I think it takes being bold and courageous if you're in a leadership role to interview those candidates, to look for those candidates, to seek them out in some way, and just be bold and demand change.
And I think like the Diversity Council is helpful too, in that it's not affiliated with any particular organization or governmental entity, and it has the ability to influence separate from those other agencies, and there's opportunity there for organizations like this to help lead that change as well.
And bringing in diverse people within it. And it's not always going to be from the top that it starts. Because if you think about any movement, it starts with the people from the bottom. That's where the voices start. And that's when it goes back to the same piece, building those relationships and becoming the change that you want to see. You know, we all have our own preconceived notions and our own biases, but you can't change those until you're willing to step across that line to get to know people. And I always feel like that we all have some of the same basic needs. Everybody wants air, everybody wants water, everybody wants their family to do well. So there's a level playing field of things that we all need. I think sometimes when we see those first, that helps with that diversity and that inclusion, because guess what? That's a level playing field. And when that playing field begins to be affected by all of us, then it becomes an easier piece to begin to look at the inclusion and the diversity piece of it, because then you're not looking at the skin tones, you're not looking at the economic levels, you're looking at we all want the same base. We all have the same basic needs. And think about it, when a tornado hits, it don't make a difference if you lived on the hill or you lived in the valley. Everybody's stuff is tore up. Guess what? We're on the all same playing field. We all got to work together. And that's how I see diversity and inclusion. We've got to find that playing field that we're all on, that level playing field where we all meet and say, you know, these are the things we all need. Let's build from here. And I think that helps to learn each other, to be able to have that inclusion and diversity. You know, we're still going to have our biases about certain things, but at the end of the day, there's no way that people have come together for great movements. It never started here. It always started here. We the people. You know,
Very good point.
we the people. We make the decisions. They don't. We drive what they do. We allow what they do. So we have to decide, do we have the boldness and the courage?
Considering all three of you come from very diverse backgrounds and different experiences, what advice would you give to women in our community aspiring to make a positive impact and break barriers in their respective fields? You each get to answer.
I believe in joining organizations. So whether it's the Centerville Women's Civic Club or any of these different organizations that I've been involved with, I've learned so much, whether it's a nonprofit board or whatever. And I would encourage other women to pick something they care about and throw themselves into it and really go deep and develop relationships. But while you're doing that, you also are gaining confidence and learning from the others in the organization. I've always found that to be really meaningful for myself. And I would encourage other women to do the same thing.
Can you give us some examples of some
Sure.
organizations that you think would be?
Sure. I love the organization called Clothes That Work. It is a small nonprofit that provides interview and work attire. Originally, it was just for women. Now it's for men and women who are seeking a job. And I learned so much from my 8 years on that board about diversity and inclusion and the different needs that job seekers who are often starting with nothing, and how an organization like Clothes That Work can help them with interview skills, a great business suit for that interview that makes them feel confident. And I learned so much about our whole Dayton community, not just my life here in Centerville, that really opened my eyes to the importance of inclusion.
I would say, again, coming from the library, that my advice would be to just continue to learn and grow and to develop, and also to find a good mentor and role models. You know, if I'm doing a presentation, I will think about people that I've seen present and that I thought really did a good job, and I would, try to emulate their behaviors. So if you find those people that you think are doing, they're knocking it out of the park, and then just try to be like them.
I join organizations all the time.
Yeah.
And volunteer. Some things be like, I don't think I would ever do this, but if it's something a friend of mine is doing, a volunteer, an opportunity, I do Clothes That Work and have people that have.
good.
I do Clothes
Yeah.
That Work. And then Hannah's Treasures Chest.
Yes.
And things of that nature. Like I said, the Heart Association, NCCJ, work with Boys and Girls Club. Opportunities. Do I have people that are in all those organizations? No, but I know about them. So it gives me opportunities to meet other people and to learn about the organizations, to even share with people that may need those organizations, what's out there, and build those relationships. And just like you said, speaking, WIBN Women in Business Network, that's where actually the first book that I was in, it was 21 women. We all wrote a chapter on relationships. It's called the book Success Powered by Relationships. But it's women from all over the Dayton area, from Cassie Barlow out at the Air Force Base, to Jeannie Porter, who was with Better Business Bureau, to just a host of different women across the city of Dayton, and from diverse backgrounds and just lifestyles that are all a part of that organization, but have helped each other where they were at and inspired and saying, so what do you want to do and how can I help you? That's the lead in. What's your name? What do you want to do and how can I help you? And out of that, these women have helped each other grow their businesses. They have developed relationships that have lasted. And I've been a part of them since 2014. Yeah. And still have relationships. So I think it's key that you keep educating yourself and taking classes. Sometimes taking classes, you don't even know why you're taking the class. I don't know why I'm taking this pottery class, but I'm going to take it. Who's to say who's going to be in the pottery class? But I built a relationship with somebody. Say, you ever done? No, I've never done pottery, but I'm going to take this class. Somebody gave me a certificate. I'm going to take the class and build some good relationships and meeting people and saying, so what do you do? Who are you? Tell me about you. Because so many times we rush around and we miss opportunities. I'm going to stay on relationships because the bottom line is that's going to get you to diversity and inclusion. We miss it. We miss it because we're so busy pushing past. I got to hurry up and get out this door. Hurry up, Johnny. Come on, put that candy down. We got to get out the door. When the opportunities, we miss great opportunities to meet people. And you never know where the next opportunity in the room is. Like I told Miss Roberta, I got here at 4:30. I was sitting out there chilling because I wanted to be here early. I wanted to see the atmosphere. I've never been here before. I wanted to see what I was walking into. Came in and met my wonderful sister over here. Found out we had a whole lot in common, didn't we? We had a whole conversation and nothing about this, and learned a lot about each other. Just an opportunity. And I guarantee you, I will see her in Centerville again. Probably in a store and say, I remember you, and hey, how are you? So those things are important. But as women, we have to put ourselves out there. Get to events, go early, go sit at a table with somebody you don't know. Take the opportunity to step out of yourself and sit with people you don't know. Be brave enough to learn something about somebody else, and don't make it about you. And I guarantee you, you'll walk out with a friend.
Liz, I have a question for you. How do you keep and lead programs in the library to help women grow?
Well, I myself have not done programs in a while, but we offer a wide variety of topics. As I mentioned, we had the eBay class, all of our maker classes, like, pottery, you come in and try. We have painting rocks coming up. You can come in and paint a rock. And again, you don't know who you might meet while you're sitting there painting a rock. Or where it might lead, because maybe you make plans on where you're going to go put these rocks. You have job seekers. We have classes on how to build a resume, how to care for aging parents. There's all kinds of topics, and all of them, if women or anybody come in to take advantage of the knowledge that we're sharing, then it can be empowering.
Belinda.
Yes.
What challenges have you had to work with men, and how do you get the men that you work with to help you achieve your goals and become a team player with you?
Oh boy. So I started working in offices when I was 17, and times were different then. And sexual harassment was rampant, and got through those years with a lot of difficulty. I mean, 40 years ago, it was, as those of you who are closer to my age know, times have changed somewhat, and there are tighter restrictions on behavior in offices. And I think that it is better now. Men and women can work together without having the other sexual harassment stuff involved. I think we've come a long way. I had to learn also to be brave and speak up to the men around me if they were using language that was not appropriate. In our little business, 14 years when we started, it was all men and me. And I had to teach them what was appropriate language in the office and with customers. And over time, I just became more confident about speaking up. And I think now it is easier than it used to be. We have come a long way. So I would encourage women who are uncomfortable with something that's going on, speak up.
Speak up.
Speak up. Be
Speak
bold.
out, be bold.
Yes.
Be brave.
Yes.
Utsi, how do you empower the new generation of young girls to accomplish their goals? And I would add, how do you even get them to set goals?
I have a 17-year-old granddaughter. I have a 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old granddaughter. And I have worked with teens for years. And what I've learned about young girls is figuring out what they like. Figuring out and letting them be who they are, and just kind of navigating the room and allowing them to just show me who they are. And from that aspect, being able to build a relationship and talking to them about what they like, what's their aspirations, and even learning what their fears are, and even talking to them. And I talk to them about being selfish. This is your life. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be. And I really work with them from the aspect, from the inside out, of building, of growing who they are from a self-worth standpoint. I was just standing my 8-year-old granddaughter this morning in the mirror, making her hold her head up high and recite a affirmation on my mirror about attitude. And then a quote about who she is. She kept dropping, hold your head up. I put my hand here, hold your head up, look straight ahead. Because you have to believe in who you are when nobody else believes it. When people doubt, and they will, you have to know who you are. So just building their self-confidence, not cockiness, but confidence in who they are, learning their self-worth, and that they have a lot to offer, first to themselves and then to others. And I've watched those 4 little girls and many young girls that we have been counselors to come back because they say, I let them be who they were. I let them find their way. I let them talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. And the greatest piece is in helping them to find their way, I loved them where they were.
Well, I want to thank you, ladies. We have learned to be bold, to be brave, to build relationships, and to be ourselves.
Thank you for the privilege to speak.
One thing I'd like to leave everybody with, and this has become my mantra, say yes to opportunities and trust yourself that you will figure out how. Go for it.
That's good.
We'll give our panelists a round of applause.